Okay, welcome to Free School for Farm Workers, everyone. We're so happy that you're here. Today's session is on growing herbs and folk herbalism. So some quick housekeeping notes that we have closed captioning enabled, so you can access that on your Zoom screen if you need that. Um, and in addition to Spanish interpretation, we also have the chat being translated into Spanish by Jeanette Ramirez. So my co-organizer and I want to introduce ourselves. I'm Anita. I work at Not Our Farm. Not Our Farm is a nonprofit farm worker storytelling and power building project. And our work is national, but I'm based in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Hey everybody, I'm Sarah. I'm based in Wisconsin and I work with Extension and Fair Share CSA Coalition. Do a lot of work in the farm labor space, so working with farmers to create positive and safe and rewarding labor experiences. Thanks for being here tonight.
So before we begin, I want to share a little bit about Free School for Farm Workers. So for those of you who are new to this space, welcome, and we're so glad that you're here. And for those of you returning, we're happy to see you back. Free School is a series that we began 2 years ago, and it's inspired by the power of community education and specifically by anarchist free schools that are located all over the world. So, free school is a direct reaction to the knowledge hoarding that we so often see and experience as workers on farms. And we also know that among us, there's so much knowledge and wisdom and skill, and we wanted to create a space where we can share that kind of information with each other and also learn and create connections with each other as farm workers. So that said, we try really, really hard to protect this space, and our free school sessions are reserved for farm workers and those who work directly with farm workers. And because of power dynamics that we know exist on farms, this is not a space for traditional farm owners and operators, and we know that resources that exist out in the world for them already. So all of our free school topics come from needs and requests posed by folks like yourselves in our community. So if there's a topic or a question you want to Skillshare on or host a teach-in about, please let us know. Sarah's going to drop a link to a submission form in the chat where you can put your ideas. So today's session on folk herbalism and growing herbs in community is one that we're really excited about. We've received so many requests from folks that you'd like to learn more about this. And today we have two incredible herbalists joining us from Oregon, Flynne and Letty. And they have so much to share with us. And I don't want to take up too much more time and I want to pass it over to them. But really quickly, I'm going to just pass it back to Sarah for an announcement.
Yeah, and just a note that I do see that there is some notation on the slide there, so I will work on fixing that. Okay, anyway, we love doing this raffle situation, so we will do that tonight as well. And we like picking, oh, perfect. Thank you. And okay, anyways, it's coming back, it's disappearing. Okay, so one of the books that we're going to raffle off here is on herbalism and state violence. So we like to raffle off things that are related to the topic that we're having our session on. So we will be sharing that. And then, super exciting, Flynne and Letty have created a collaborative community care kit that will also be raffled off. So we will be able to share two of those random winners who are with us tonight. Tonight towards the end of our session, and then we'll select one additional winner from the evaluation. So I'm going to drop that in the chat here, and we'll just randomly select a winner tomorrow. So we will email that person and let them know. All right. And with that, I'm going to stop screen sharing and turn it over to Letty and Flynne.
Hi everyone, I'm Flynne, um, and I am gonna start a screen share. Um, and yeah, just wanna say that, yeah, virtual things and Mercury's doing its thing, and so yes, just bear with us. And yeah, um, yeah, thanks for being here. Um, yeah, I think just starting out. I know we have a limited amount of time. I just like to be super transparent. We've done this presentation once before with double the amount of time, so we're going to roll through it as best we can. Yeah, and just share as much as we can with y'all. And pretty certain that everyone's going to have access, right, to this slideshow. So, and we'll have our contact information for um, any future chatting y'all want to do. But yeah, I just want to, start this off and just invite everyone, to take some breaths, just get grounded in this moment, in this space as much as you can, however that feels most real and authentic for you. I think that, yeah, the work that we do as land tenders or any work adjacent to land tending is, really deep and really powerful and really important. And, um, as we know, a lot of our people that are working with land and tend the land are, under attack. And so I just want to, take a moment and like honor the work that we do, honor the suffering that is happening to folks that do this work, and just, ask spirit and guides to be with us for our time together, and onward. So, yeah. Okay. So, yeah, here we are. Letty, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Um, Nonataka Pantlani Chichitonyo Lutli. My name is Letty Doghart, and my people come from Coahuila. Um, on the slide, I share a little bit about myself. I'm a disabled veteran. I work with dogs and land. I'm a community herbalist and health educator. I'm also a 5NP technician as of recently. I'm very excited about it, so I'm telling everybody. Um, and I love to work with the land. I got into herbal medicine um, as a way of like reclamation of my humanness and my place in this order, but also as as a way of being in solidarity with the BDS movement, particularly against mountain rose herb. So I was like, let's get more black and brown farmers growing the herbs for the people. So I'm really excited. Flynne and I have known each other for many years and have been working on our relationship and friendship and collaboration. And it's really exciting to be at this place now in our friendship, sharing space. So
Mhm.
thank you for having us.
Yes. Yes, agreed. Thank you for naming that last little bit. We have known each other for a very long time. Yes, and again, hi, I'm Flynne, Olivares, and yeah, also share plenty on this slide, but yeah, definitely feeling like being called to the land and doing this work has felt the most right, compared to other things I've done. And I'm a mixed race person. I know that land tending, amongst other ways of working with your hands, is in my ancestry and in my lineage. And so, it does feel like such an honor to do this work. And, I'm going into my eighth season, which feels really bananas as far as numbers go, but here we are. Um, okay, let's do this. Yes, starting out, just want to acknowledge land, land and the people, and how valuable it is and can inform your work that you do to get to know the land, and know what land you're on, where you come from, where you tend, how to honor that land and acknowledge the land. And of course, that means acknowledging the people and the original tenders of the land, and everything between that and what it is now. And it also means plant relatives and animal relatives and all the things that encompass a space that we're going to work with. Um, and I think one of the biggest takeaways in the time that I've been working with land is that land work is definitely political. And if there's anything that we want to encourage folks is to not be apolitical land tenders because that just it doesn't serve anyone. It's political work and it means something. So show up, show up, show up for that. And again, I don't think I said this before. A lot of these slides are some of our values and different prompts and curiosities and things for y'all to consider in the land work that you do, in your curiosities around herbs and herbalism and healing. So yeah, because you have access to this, we might go through some of these prompt heavy slides a little quicker, but yeah, just wanted to say that. Look, there goes the little lines again. Is anyone else seeing that?
We have an artist.
And no, it's kind of cute. It's like someone's just doodling on the presentation, so
It's great.
I don't mind. Okay, gonna go to the next one.
I also just want to add, as we're going on
Yes.
to the next slide, is that
Oh,
for folks, no, no, go ahead. For folks, you'll have access to these and you have access to these questions. And so please don't feel like you have to answer them now. Take your time with these because you're going to have homework after this. We want you to reflect um, as you go forward with your journey with the plants. So,
mhm.
um, yeah, but some wonderings. Flynn, would you like me to take this one?
Sure.
Okay. Um, as you're considering what it is that you want to be doing with your farm practice, um, I'm curious if it's possible. Can we get a show of hands of how many people are already doing land work? Um, if we can just kind of get a see. Okay, we've got some hands up. Okay, okay. All right, we got a good number of people who are already doing it. How
Hmm.
many folks are already incorporating herbs in their farm practice? Okay, a couple. Okay. Wow. Okay. Great. I love this. And my other question, so I'm just going to do a pause. So let's hold our reactions for now. I'm curious who has not begun doing any land work or working with plant like herbs specifically. Who's like, I'm new, I'm just getting into it. Awesome. Okay, great. Welcome to your journey.
Hmm.
We hope to
Yeah.
give you a vision board and roadmap for the new folks. And I hope that we can offer some questions to consider for folks who have been doing this for a while as a way to refresh your practice. Um, yeah, so thinking about why you want to be incorporating herbs, who your intended community is, who will be benefiting from it, um, and thinking about like the plants that you currently work with. Um, and this is like an age-old herb teacher uh, recommendation is like, which 5 herbs do you know the most? Um, and which ones do you focus on and why? And then what kinds of stories do you want to create with your herbs, with your plant accomplices? How are you collaborating together? So yeah, just some wonderings on that one, so we can
Hmm.
move on to the next.
Cool. These next questions and prompts are just, yeah, mostly to help you think about, yeah, your strengths and the gaps that you need to feel. And I think there's, right, also this tone of collaboration, right? I think another big takeaway of doing this work is that this work is not meant to be done alone. And so I think just, yeah, thinking about the things you're good at, thinking about the things that you want to build skills around, who do you know or who is there in community that can, share information about those skills and who has access to what. So yeah, just basically that.
I think we should both talk about this one.
Yes.
Um, Go ahead.
Um, yeah, I think, choosing a lane, again, thinking about doing work in collaboration I think it is, especially speaking from experience, I think it's really easy to get wrapped up in all the things and want to know all the things and do all the things, and say yes to everything and take all the classes and all,
Hmm.
look for all the certifications. And I think that, yeah, sometimes identifying what you already know is a really empowering place to start. And really just thinking about, again, the strengths and the passions and how can that inform what you offer folks. And how to inspire and motivate yourself while also inspiring and motivating others, who are doing this work. Yeah, I'll pass.
Yeah, I think the other part I really want to drive home to folks is like thinking about your long-term goals as you're learning with the plants. What is it that you want to learn or achieve in the first year of your beginning relationship with the plants? Who do you want to incorporate? Who do you want to incorporate in 2 years, in 5 years? What kinds of collaborations or infrastructure are you needing to incorporate in your plans? So just like thinking ahead, um, and also giving yourself space for change, because that happens. Sometimes the plants have their own ideas,
Mhm.
um, and we have to listen. So.
Mhm. Yes. And ancestry and practice. I think that land work, working with herbs, thinking about healing, is very much an invitation and an opportunity to connect with ancestry, to connect with spirit. I mean, we all come from people who work with plants. Like it's for everyone and everyone has a right to heal. So I think that really getting into kind of where do you come from and what did your people do? What were the rituals, the ceremonies, the foods? What was the land that our ancestors engaged with? How can that inform how we connect with land and connect with this work? And staying really humble and staying really open to shifting our practices when we learn new information. Sometimes that new information is uncomfortable information, and you have to sit with that. And there are plants that can help us sit with that. So, yes. Yeah.
That's absolutely my favorite part of this
Mhm.
practice is the like staying curious and staying accountable. It's prickly and sometimes hard. But like the medicine path is a poison path. So it's really important that we are accountable, and we do no harm and practice harm reduction when necessary, because plant medicine is so powerful. Um,
Mhm.
And we live in these invisible structures and systems that can sometimes twist that information. So it's really important that we stay curious and stay accountable.
Mhm. Yeah. Ooh, and asking for permission. Um, I, maybe some of you have kind of heard, or practice asking for permission in terms of working with plants. I mean, I think I first heard of that when going out, and doing what we call, foraging, um, just going out to where the plants live, going into the plants' homes and taking it. And so, just knowing what permission feels like, thinking about what's our relationship to permission and what's our relationship to entitlement when we just like take things from the earth, thinking that we deserve it. And so sort of, yeah, holding space for that, even with land that we tend, even with land that we step onto every day of the week, there's still an element of honoring the sentient the sentience of the plants and of the land. And so just like, yeah, staying humble about that. Mhm.
I have nothing more to add. I feel like that was so, yep,
Great.
concise.
Okay. Yes, and then from this we are going to launch into the plants and the tending and the growing. Um, yeah, so getting started for folks that are wanting to plan herb gardens, herb spirals, how to incorporate growing herbs into onto your farms at whatever scale. Um, I think one of the first big things is to meet your soil. Get to know what's happening in there. Um, Noticing things, noticing what it looks like, what the texture is, what the color is. Yeah, how far down can you dig into the soil? Is it compacted? Is it loose? Is there a presence of worms? Hopefully so. Also noticing what weeds are growing in your soil is really valuable information. Especially when, thinking about how to remedy your soil, how to feed your soil, give it nourishment. Also checking water retention. Yeah, there's lots of local garden stores, feed stores, agriculture stores that offer soil testing. So if that feels like an accessible tool to use, um, highly recommend. And then also getting to know, the resources in your area as far as acquiring compost. Sometimes, different regional, city, governmental, non-governmental places will offer like free compost days, or I know here we have like a free chip drop where people drop off piles of wood chips, for mulching and stuff like that. So, yeah, just doing the research to find out what that is. Um, yeah, and incorporating that into what your soil needs. And then meeting your canvas, meaning the space that you'll be tending. So how big of a space are you looking to tend? Thinking about the bed size or the bed space and the pathway sizes, to make sure that you can tend to the plants with enough space, with a wheelbarrow or any other tools that you might need. Um, Taking note of where the water is, like water sources, whether it's for irrigation or if there's a creek nearby, anything like that. How much sun does it get? How much shade does it get? And then, if you do want to incorporate shapes into your planting, um, yeah, that's a good time to think about that as well. I know in one book, I can't think of what it is right now, but someone talks about like planting herbs in triangle shapes. And I wish I knew more than just that, but I can hopefully more will come to me over the course of this time. But I just remember that. So yeah, planting in shapes, triangles, um, yeah, little circles, herb spirals, all that kind of stuff.
Then after you've done all of this, right, you're like, okay, I know what my soil looks like. I know what my rows are going to look like, or what my planting spaces are going to look like, what my water table is like, my sun situation. All of this can inform what plants can and will grow in that space. Sometimes we start with the list of we're like, I want all of these plants to be there. And then we look at how much space we have and realize, oh, that lavender is going to need a whole lot more space than I planned. Um, and the sun is way too hot for this forage. Or, um, yeah, oh, I planted an annual. And what I really want in that space over there is I want a perennial because I want to have a hedgerow or some sort of like part of my pathways or hedging. So it's really, and also thinking about your trellising. What kind of stakes do you need? Do you need netting to protect from birds? Um, do you want to encourage birds? yeah, so thinking about all of the fun um, stuff that you need to get your plants set up in a good home. And also thinking about like, do I want to grow my plants in rows? Do I want to grow them in triangles? Do I want to grow them in communities? Um, like sometimes plants show up together and you're like, oh, hey, that's an idea. And we can kind of like replicate that when we're observing other plant spaces. Um, but yeah, so thinking about who you want and also like what does that plant need um, in order to be successful. And I think that brings us to the next slide. Yeah.
Mhm. Yes. One thing specifically though, the self-seeders and the spreaders.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it.
Because they do that.
They do that. Yeah, the mints. Think about where you're putting your mint. Um, and also like blue vervain is one that I was like, I love this plant so much. I planted like 20 of them and they're self-seeders and they throw their seeds. So now I have blue vervain everywhere popping up. And so I'm constantly like, no, no, no. So thinking about self-seeders and spreaders
Mhm,
are really, really important for your like long-term sanity in the weeding process,
mhm.
which we'll talk about later.
Yeah.
Thank you
Yeah.
for the
Yeah.
reminder.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, next seeds. Um, I seeds. Um, just wanted to give a shout out to the seeds. And share, yeah, this is where it all begins. Um, I love that the little outer coat of the seed is called a testa. I love knowing the name of that. That they all wear these little jackets that they take off once they start feeling empowered to be their own beings. Um, and I think that it really I think to start your reciprocal relationship with these plants, with the seeds, is really important. And I think a lot of seeds, I think especially, in my experience, herbs, and I also grow a lot of cut flowers, but a lot of herbs and flowers like need some specific conditions, whether it's extra moisture, light, so not actually covering the seed with soil because it needs light to germinate. Some need heat. Some need to be soaked, some need to be burned and scorched. Yeah, so I think really doing the due diligence of getting to know what your seeds need is really gonna, yeah, support the relationship that you're starting. And a lot of seeds like to be transplanted, and there are some that 1,000% do not want to be disturbed once they hit the soil. So those need to be direct seeded. So figuring out the best ways to do that. Um, and yeah, just to share a tiny anecdote, I have a whole passion flower vine situation. And the first year that I tried to start passion flower seeds, I read the packet and I was like, okay, sure, sure, sure. And just seeded them in soil. Nothing happened, like not a singular germinated anything. So the next year I tried again and I was like, okay, we're going to go full 180 and get real ritual on it. And I soaked them overnight. And then the next day took them out of the water and by candlelight just like scarified each one with my pocket knife. And they all germinated. And so my passion flower vine, all those seeds just like really needed to be courted and sung to and cared for and like witnessed in their needs. And so there's some science and some spirit in that whole experience. But
Mhm.
yeah, pay attention to what your seeds need. Um, yeah, and then let's see, is it on the next slide? Just want to note that the imagery on this slide, there's a seating tray in like that top left corner, and then on bottom right, there's soil blocks, which maybe some of you also soil block, but I absolutely love it. And is it the next slide?
Mhm.
Yeah. Um, So the next slide, just there's some, the next few slides are just like fun photos mostly, but this photo on the far right, the seedling on the left came from yeah, kind of a traditional plug tray. And then the other one came from a soil block, and they were seeded 1 day apart. So soil blocks, once I learned about soil blocking and how it just really promotes like such a strong, robust seedling, I was like, well, if we're centering the plants, then I need to start soil blocking. And I will say it's incredibly more time and labor intensive. But it's really worth it. It's really worth it to know that my seedlings are getting just more support to be strong if I do that extra work up front. So yeah, just want to boost soil blocking. And then some field picks just to sort of build on what Letty mentioned earlier around just prepping and netting and trellising and support. It really, really does make such a huge difference to put time, ample time and energy into like what I just call like setting up the bones of the field. It just, I don't know, it just makes for a lot more ease and like efficiency with like maintaining your growing spaces throughout the year because I don't know about y'all, but things always get bananas. And so it's just nice to have, nice to have just a little bit more structure that's easier to tend to throughout the season. So, yeah.
So beautiful.
Hooray.
Mhm.
Yay, more pretty moments.
I also just want to like appreciate how like these photos are giving us a like Flynne does this really incredible job of setting up the bones, and you can see this interplanting, right? There's the clary sage with the elderberry in the background, and is that mugwort back there? Who's that? Mint?
They're like
Behind the to the left. Oh, that's nettles. It's already in the
under
title.
the
I'm sorry.
elderberry, yeah, the nettles.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, the nettles. So like here we have this beautiful like little cove,
Hmm.
and it smells incredible. And then there's the milky oats with the California poppy. And if you know
Hmm.
about these plants, you know that these are like nervous system support plants. So having them together, growing them together, so that if you're making medicine with them together, there is already a relationship that they have because they've grown up together.
Hmm.
And then we've got the yarrow, and is that who's this fuzzy? Is that mullein?
Mullein, yeah.
Yeah. So
Hmm.
yeah, boundaries and like respiratory support, but also grief work.
Hmm.
Um, thinking about ways to support your plants, not just in the like the seeding, but like how they're going to grow up in their communities, and talking to them about like your hopes and dreams for them, like what
Hmm.
where you want them to be going in community, and also listening to what they have to say because they might have other ideas.
Hmm. Yes.
Yeah,
Sentient beings.
yeah.
Okay. Tending and harvesting. Weeding. As we all know, weeding has to be done. Those weeds just love to race the plants that we actually intentionally put into the soil. But they offer so much information. Again, really just getting to know your weeds, what they are, what your weeds need to thrive will help you figure out what's going on in your soil and what you might need to do to nourish it. Um, Definitely experiment with different strategies. When it comes to weeding, whether, like the land that I tend, we have a lot of Canada thistle pressure. Wah wah. And so, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, this is best practice, this is how to do it. Cut it at the surface. But if you see that if you there's just a thistle patch that's your like Sunday scary zone that you just don't ever want to look at, and all of a sudden it's going into flower, it's like, well, okay, at this point, wait until it's in flower and then yank it because all the, as we know, all the energy is going to be in the flower and not in the root, which is how it like spreads. So just again, getting to know your weeds, and how to work with them and against them? Question mark. Um, and then also like different strategies as far as asking for help, and getting support from people, which, I farm and tend land in a collective space. And so we're constantly figuring out what are the different ways that we can like support each other, staying on top of stuff, and approach each other in a way, we all grow right next to each other. So if I notice that somebody's weeds are going to seed, then I need them to take care of it so that those weed seeds don't fly into my area. And so figuring out, right, again, this work is not meant to be done alone, and just figuring out like, what words do you need to hear? So when I ask you to weed your stuff, I don't make you go into a shame spiral. So getting vulnerable, um, with people that you're working with, so that you all can just, yeah, show up as the best land tenders you can be for each other.
And,
Um,
and knowing your weeds is also a really great way of like doing community education, right? So if you've got volunteers or people coming to the space that want to help out,
mhm,
telling them your stories about the weeds. And one of the things that we do in our garden is it's the seek and destroy missions. We're like, okay, everybody, we're looking for blue vervain. We got to keep her in line. And here's an example of blue vervain little. And here she is a little bit bigger because she changes. So, like, that's just what we're doing. And we're only focusing on that weed, or we're focusing on reining in that plant. Um, and whatever is left over. I'm like, great, we've got all this plant matter now. Do you folks want to take it home? Let me tell you about this plant, and how you can use this plant. Um,
mhm,
so other ways to like do community
mhm.
oriented support around the land.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for bringing that up. That also makes me think of the weeds that we want, the medicinal weeds, the nutritive weeds, the things that, yeah, the things that maybe when we are quote unquote weeding, we actually want to put this in the harvest basket instead of the debris bin. Yeah, things like chickweed, dandelion, cleavers, all those things that we can just kind of yank out and toss away, but we can actually, get to know them and work with them. Um, yeah. And yeah, harvesting tips, just always keeping things sanitize your tools and your containers. And something that I definitely struggled with for a while is make sure you have space to store your harvested plant material. Sometimes I would just get so excited about a harvest and I would harvest so much and then not have a place to put it all. And then I would either have to, the 2 hour task would turn into a 4 hour task because I had to process it immediately or something. So yeah, just really keeping in mind the whole process of harvesting, which is the prepping for the harvest, the harvesting, and then the storing, processing, and cleaning up. So just remembering like the whole process. And when you're harvesting, give thanks and offerings to your plants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And don't forget to track your work, take photos, weigh your harvest. Even if you aren't working for a grant or whatever, it's good practice to kind of be aware of like how much you're producing on the land that you're tending. Um, and also, it's great for grant
Hmm.
applications in the future. So that you have a
Hmm.
sense of like, this is how much milky oat we were able to grow this year in this amount of land, and that went into this value added product or into this you pick harvest or whatever. However,
Hmm.
you end up diversifying your herbal offerings, but it's a good way to kind of know where your production is at, and also where you want to go with
Hmm.
it. Like, oh, we only did 2 pounds this year. I'd really like to get us to 10 pounds. How do we get there?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Post-harvest care. Um, yeah, harvesting everything that you've got, everything that you're harvesting, and then being able again to know where to put it. So drying things, making sure that your post-harvest space has airflow. And if not, at least power sources to utilize, fans or heaters, whichever is needed. And then yeah, just threw in this little photo of the the corner in the shared barn that I take up at the farm that I'm at. So got like the garlic curing over there on the shelf on the right. Um, there's definitely been a yarrow sticking out from underneath it. And then different styles of drying racks. The one on the left, kind of the round, multi-layered mesh one, is incredible. Very clutch. I have another one here at home. A little bit of a different style with like buckles that I can sort of unbuckle, and they could be like eight deep or four deep or whatever. And then the nice drying racks in the middle, I was actually able to secure some grant money and pay my partner to build them for me. So they are incredible. Yeah, made from hardwood and stainless steel mesh. And yeah, it's really just been such an incredible game changer. I'm able to just harvest and process and move and distribute more. Yeah, having that space.
Flynn, when you got your dryer built, at what year
Mhm.
in your practice, your farm practice, were you?
Oh, this was last year, so year
Yeah.
7.
I
Yeah.
just I want to kind of put that in folks's like
Yes.
minds of like it takes time to figure out what infrastructure you're going to need. Sometimes we can have that set up ahead of time because we've got plans, but it's
Mhm.
also important to think about like ways to incrementally grow.
Mhm.
And we'll talk a little bit more about like the capitalism participation part of it, but
Mhm.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
really important to think about like that planning, the year one,
Mhm.
year two, year five, year seven. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Because yeah, whenever I acquired the round mesh one, I was like, yes, like here we go, like big baller. And it was, and it still is. I utilize all the tools and all the things that I have. So um, but yeah, definitely a dream to have these like custom built um pieces from my partner. Oh, and that little blue chest freezer also I was able to purchase from grant money, but yeah, fresh milky oat tops and elderberry usually take up all the space in there, but it's a great way for me to preserve my harvest so that I can make medicine throughout the seasons. Hmm.
Flynn and Letty, we're about halfway through, just FYI.
Oh, cool. Great. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna move on. Yeah. Did we-
Post-harvest storage and use. So, um, with with your harvest, right? So sometimes you've got drying space, but sometimes you have other ideas of what you want to do with your medicine, like making value-added products. So we want to talk about storage and use. So ideally, your storage space is out of direct sunlight. It's easy to access. It's easy to use and get and like refill, right? So you like are able to see. So here, this is here at the herb house at my house. Behind me are these shelves that you see in this photo um, of my dry herbs that are labeled with the date that they were harvested and processed. Um, like I do both. So the day that we harvested and put them in the dryer, and then the um, the date that we took it out of the dryer and processed it, the garbling, and then what garden space it was procured from. So I have a few different sites that I grow at. And sometimes people from community donate to our herb library. So if I got something from Flynne, it says this came from Mariquita Medicinals, so that we know where things are coming from, we know the dates, and I can rotate out. Um, glass jars, plastic bags are great to keep things dry, making sure they're dry though. So when they're dry, they should snap. No rubberiness. It should snap. And if you want to do like a humidity test on them, 10% moisture is the max you can have before mold starts to show up. And then, uh, yeah, just label forever, forever. Label every time, even if you're like, I'm just transferring from one jar to another, label your jar before you put your stuff in. I did this last week. I was like, oh, there's a little bit here and they're from the same batch. I'll just like combine them. And one of those jars, that the jar that I combined everyone into, didn't have a label. I walked away, came back, and I was like, I don't know who you are. And I was like, maybe if I taste it. And I was like, nope, tampoco. So yeah, so label, always label. And you can create like batch systems for yourself. The way that I do that is like the date with the year and then the location that it was harvested from. So it would be like if it was today, 3926 Herb House HH, FDH. So that would be like my batch. So like as you're like growing your practice and growing your inventory, it becomes more important to keep track of those kinds of things. And then there's like value added products. So if you wanted to make tinctures, making sure you have the menstruum, the thing that your tincture is going to be extracting the herbal medicine from. So having space to store that. Are you making it from fresh material? Are you making it from dry material? Making sure you know how to do that, to do your research, do your learning. And then like having all of this stuff stored and inventoried and at least have a sense of like what you have, it's a really great way to keep track and ahead of your market times, or your offerings where you're just like, oh, I know we have 2 gallons of that. I'll just go ahead and bottle up 30 bottles and make sure that they're labeled and they're ready to go. And that takes time to build up to. So like give yourself grace, but start thinking about how you can get to that place so that you're not scrambling just before the night before market with like making sure your labels are right. And then there's a typo. And real talk, life, lived experience.
Hmm.
Um, and keeping track of your formularies. So if you're making things and you want them to be consistent for your consumers, for your community, keep track of your formulary. Keep a diary of what you're making. Keep a diary of the messages when you're out in the field, you're doing your field walks. What are the plants telling you? And then when you're doing harvesting and making medicine, consider including community. For medicine making, having classes to teach and share the lessons that you're getting. Yeah.
Hmm. Yes. I feel like something came up. Oh, kind of relating to value added, like something that took me years to really start doing consistently was when I was coming up with formulary and tracking how I was, processing medicine I was making, also tracking like the quantities. So knowing if you're making a batch of something in a quart jar versus a half-gallon jar, knowing how many 1 ounce tincture bottles can I fill with what I make in this size jar versus this size jar? How many 4 ounce elderberry syrups can I make with this much elderberry versus this much elderberry? So just, it really just, it helps. And sometimes I get really bad with writing stuff down. So I utilize the voice memo app on my phone to just kind of rattle off to myself what I'm doing and what I'm seeing and counting so that I can then write it down later. But just, yeah, tracking, record keeping, it feels, for me, it felt tedious and clunky at first, which is why it took me so long to get consistent rhythms with it, but it's helpful.
Yeah,
So, yeah,
it's true. It helps me to remember to just be like, this is for community. This is for community.
yes.
Because I hate it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so in the spirit of all of that, right? This work is also feels like bridge work, right? We're connecting plants to people, connecting ourselves to plants. And so thinking about our role in the community, just different ways to connect with people around plants. So thinking about what, Letty just shared about involving people in, post harvest processing things. So co-learning, yeah, hosting plant walks, whether that's, in the space that you tend or just out in your communities. Um, yeah, land-based work parties, exploration. A couple years ago, there's a birder that, we have a community relationship, and they were like, "Hey, I want to do like a BIPOC only like birding," because often I talk about the birds that I see on the land that I care for. And so they noticed that and they said, "Hey, can we have a little like bird farm gathering?" And we did, and it was really sweet. And we just had people come through, and we provided binoculars and we toured the farm. And part of the whole setup was like, as we walk around and look at the farm, anytime you see a bird, like interrupt. So it was like constantly like, "Oh, take a look at that. Who's that over there?" So I don't know, just different ways to, yeah, bring people together in our land spaces.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah. I also like there's something else that Flynn does at the farm is also hosting other kinds of cultural events, right? So we'll talk about this more probably during the question and answer about like where do you get funding if you want to get grants, like getting creative about how the land can host and really working on your relationships and community. Like who
Mhm.
are the artists? Who are the healers? Who are the grief tenders? Um,
Mhm.
there's like all of these ways the plants can bring us together. Um, and and yeah, the storytellers, the seed keepers, there's so many ways. So just like keeping ourselves open and curious to connect and seeing opportunity when we're out in community talking about our plants.
Mhm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. Yes, and then ways to keep community and intention central while engaging in capitalism, because that's the container that we are in. And so, again, these next couple slides just kind of prompt us to go back to that, that roadmap, and thinking about why we're here, why are we choosing to do this work, um, and really getting back to like the source, like our values. Our values should really align, this work that we do and be our compass for that. Going back to what role we're in, taking a beat on, do we want to be in this role? Do we want to continue to be in this role? Um, are we ready for a new one? How do we sort of, how can we move laterally in community if that's something that we need to do? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that revisiting your compass is so important. Like,
Hmm.
is this where we want to go with our farm? Is this how we want to do this?
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Now we talk about how more about income streams.
Hmm.
This is where we get creative, right? Like this is where like when we know who we are and what we're doing and why we're doing it, we can see ourselves in these different places. So CSA add-ons. Flynne has experience having their products and plants in CSAs, and you've done a CSA.
Yeah, I do a couple CSAs.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, introducing as it's in the season, introducing herbs to market, um, value added products. Your ideas will come to you when you're out in the world and you're spending time with your plants and you start to get dreamy. Like it's really incredible, like what comes. And sometimes we pull from our lineage, so thinking about that as well. Um, classes, classes, all kinds of classes. There's so many ways that we can incorporate education and engagement in community where folks can come and learn from
Mhm.
you or learn from the land or learn from the plants
Mhm.
themselves. So,
Mhm.
um, Flynn and I had this conversation about the research for grants over the phone, and I don't know if you remember it, but will you please tell folks what you said?
What I said
Yeah, do you
about the
remember?
grant? I don't.
Okay,
What
well,
did
the
I
first
say?
point you were
Yeah.
talking about how getting together with other farmers and do research, right? Like do those like working
Hmm.
groups together where we're like, all right, we're gonna co-work, everybody's gonna look at this this type of grant. And one thing Flynn mentioned to me was like there's a lot of need for grief work right now, right? Like mental
Mm.
health services, ways that we can support like flowers. What was it you were saying? Like how how there's a need for flowers, right? So there's a need for herbs. What if you know folks who are in ceremony spaces, like there's a need for herbs, and if you're building these relationships with folks, and they are aware of herbs or grants that are available
Hmm.
for ceremony and traditional services or traditional healing practices, community care, art, plant dyes, and there's all kinds of like other places that aren't farm specific that
Hmm.
plants can take you to think
Hmm.
about. And yeah, so this is really about relationships. Who are you already connected with? What
Hmm.
organizations are you connected with? Where do you want to be connected? How does it align with your values and your roadmap? Um, and collaborate just like
Hmm.
as much as you can. It's hard when you're running a business, you're running a farm, you're tending to the land, you're thinking about formularies. It gets challenging, but like it really is the thing that for me fuels me in the work. Like it keeps me inspired, it keeps me empowered, it keeps me like creating and thinking.
Hmm.
Um, so that like that community part is just so important.
Yeah. 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 And I think, taking the time to really, you know, diversify your income streams is something that I just remember like very early on in becoming, a land tender and a farmer. And so I think the more time and energy I can put into that, having multiple income streams, I feel like that has offered me the spaciousness to think about what can I offer that I don't need dollars for, and then how can I also call in community to help me offer that thing, So, I mean, I feel like a great recent example was, last fall, some other farmers and we collaborated to do a fundraiser for, just a local organization here doing a lot of like, direct work with, um, immigrants, folks right now. Yeah, being on the receiving end of a lot of violence and displacement. So we did a fundraiser and, you know, I called in for support. One of the things that we wanted to offer was, like a bloom bar. People come and make their own bouquets. So I was like, that's a lot of flowers. So yeah, I had people helping me harvest flowers in the field. Called in another flower farmer who brought buckets of her flowers, and there was such a collective effort to put that fundraiser on. Um, and it was so abundant, and to see everybody show up and just be in awe of all that abundance, and know that it took many, many hands and hearts to like make that what it was. Like just felt it was one of those moments where I was like, yep, this moment is like one of the moments that is just validating and um yeah, just like fed the spirit. So yeah, just really want to just really boost collaboration, um and building relationships with folks, and yeah, how to build those intersections of where your values align with other people's, and like seeing what work you can do with it. Yeah, it's beautiful. Um,
Just a
yeah.
couple more slides, which is like
Yeah.
we're like right on time. Nice work.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, so choosing your products and your offering. So, who are you serving? What do you want to share? What support does your community need? And
Mhm.
what are your clients experiencing? So, like this, if you're doing farmers markets and you're standing at a booth and you're offering herbal products, how are you feeling in your body today? Like, get the pulse. What's going on with your community? And that can also inform your formulary. So one of the things, so here at Herb House, we used to have a Friday. It's on hiatus right now because I'm on sabbatical. But um, on Fridays, we'd come together, we'd do a little meditation, we talk about how we're feeling, what we're noticing in community, and we'd formulate medication, like community medicine for what we are like. This is what's going on. So one of our formulary was called Colita de Rana. That came out after the Roe v. Wade was overturned, and we were all just like, my heart hurts, and I just want to scream. And so we made medicine for that. We have every year we do a formulary called Happy Pride Bitches. It's for January. It's a nice iced tea, and then there's our like my tried and trues, the chill the fuck out, and the
Mhm.
respiratory support. And those are like community knows these because of grants that I've been able to get in the past and because of community support. We make this in community, we give it away, and I get requests and I like do deliveries. So that's one of the ones that just that one belongs to the people. Um, yeah. So thinking about also your role, like what is it that you want to be doing? Um, in your community, are you somebody who wants to like do all of the external extroverted stuff, or are you like, you know what, I want people to let me know if they need a puppy formula, and I just want to do dog medicine, or I just want to do respiratory support or nervous system support. Yeah, so just
Mhm.
thinking about your products and offering, and yeah, how you want to bring that to community.
Yeah. Yes. And I think this kind of ties back to like earlier, kind of that notion of like it's feels really exciting to get into this work and like we want to do all the things. So I think part of what makes it feel for me just like more easeful, I don't know, softer to kind of like choose my lane and choose my role and know that I'm not like in that role or in that lane forever, but to be able to say no to things feels easier when I know that I can recommend someone that I trust
Mm,
to fill that need when I can't, right? And so again, just like back to the collaboration and building relationships. It's like, oh, I don't really have anything, but I know someone who might. Or like, oh, sounds like a job for this plant, which I'm still working on my relationship with, but man, I know people who really know that plant and I can put you in touch with them. And so just like again, knowing your community, everyone's strengths. So yeah, so that it feels easier to say, I can't do that. Because sometimes that's really hard to say and admit to
mm,
ourselves.
word.
Yes.
Yeah.
Um, okay. Resources.
Resources. Books, books, books. Do
Yes,
your
this is
reading.
such a short list, but
Yeah. But also listen to podcasts.
Mhm,
There follow folks on Instagram. And be discerning, right? Like
mhm,
be discerning about the folks that you are getting information from. Compare your notes. Because there's a lot of misinformation out there in the age of AI. There are a
oof,
lot of herbal books on Amazon that are written by AI. So yeah, be really mindful of where you're getting your
mhm,
information. Here are some vetted. It's a really good launching pad to like
mhm,
get you into other places. There's a, a podcast called the Herbal Highway that our teachers from Blue Otter used to do, and then their students have inherited it, and it's called the Plant Path. It's on KPFM. It's a
yeah,
Bay radio station. I'll try to remember it. I'll look it
yeah.
up.
What is it
But
called?
yeah, great way to just like while you're in the field and you're weeding and you're seeding, listening to podcasts of other herbalists talking about different plants, and ways to apply them, herbal first aid, like all kinds of things that you can like absorb information about. Yeah.
It's called planting medicine.
Thank you.
Yes. The herbal highway is now referred to as planting medicine, and
Planting
it's
medicine.
new with its new guides.
New guides. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, which is just really cool to think about like this inheritance of knowledge.
hmm Of knowledge sharing. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yes.
And then the rest of
Okay.
the slides are photos. Yeah.
Yeah, just yeah, basically our different growth sites. Letty has a few, but
Yeah.
yeah.
So this is a place that I shared space with on Savi Island, also known as Wapato Island. Here's the front yard at the herb house. That's the backyard of the herb house. It looks so much more different now. But this was like 2018. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Mm.
This is the test garden. That's in East Portland. And then there's the inside of the herb house where folks are making medicine together. So we have
Mhm.
a wash and pack, and we finally just skinned our tunnel. So, things take
Mm.
time.
Yes, they do. This is a little aerial map snapshot of the collective space that I tend to in Northeast Portland. So there's on the left, sort of that square, that's the learning garden. This is technically right across the parking lot, like kind of at the top of the photo, is the Oregon Food Bank. And this is technically their property. So there's the learning garden, which has been really the only part of the property that has been like fully managed and supervised by a food bank staff member. And then the rest of this growing space is for, yeah, those of us that have been in sort of a program container, like a grant funded program with the Oregon Food Bank, which this is the last year of that program. So we're also taking on a lot of like self-organizing this year, because we don't have to leave the land. They just basically don't want to pay to manage a program. So yeah, so now we will be organizing and managing ourselves, but that's a whole other presentation. But yeah, just some snapshots of the space. One of my
The
friends in co
rainbow.
the rainbow, and all the garlic. Yeah, friend and co-farmer. And then, yeah, kind of just this perfect. I mean, there's a bunny there, so I was like, let's have a cute moment. But the cosmos are growing in a space where I had a lot of calendula growing the year prior, so you can kind of see the calendula coming back because she's a pretty heavy self-seeder. So, um, yeah, work parties, free community Milky Oat U pick there in the middle. Community ofrenda for Dia de Muertos gathering some years back, where basically we just turned the whole greenhouse into an altar space. Yeah, just different community gatherings. Um, yeah, had a education partnership with a local organization. One of my friends and co-farmers who just transitioned off the land last year. Um, she is Arab, Syrian, and really has hosted, I think two years in a row, hosted a Palestinian Land Day gathering. Um, yeah, and then every year we have a plant sale together, and yeah.
Yeah. And then
Mhm.
also just some other ways to engage, seed saving, merch. We participated in the free booth at the Come Through Market in Portland, for the not last year, but the years before, so 4 years previous.
Mhm.
And then like doing community herb education nights at community centers, culturally specific community centers, partnering with community healthcare workers around like what are the specific herbs or veggies or things that we want to incorporate, and then how do we share this like information that I have with each other. So ways of collaborating. And I'm like, we're at, yeah. Also, service days. It here in the Pacific Northwest, up in Washington, the canoe journey happens where canoe families travel up the coast and in the Sound, and we follow them and then offer care for them with herbs that have been grown and tended to all year long and processed. Um, Also, get to know your neighbor farmers, even if they're not herb farmers. Get to know them. And here another way of connecting in community is like when stuff goes down on the other side of the country or the other side of the world and you feel called to um, offer to send medicine,
Hmm.
and then ask folks like, hey, I want to send this medicine, can you help me with shipping or material costs?
Hmm.
It's okay to ask community for help in those ways.
Hmm.
Sometimes folks really do come through, so
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah,
yeah.
definitely. Um, I'm just
And
noticing the
we're
time.
we're a little bit over time.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah,
So
so you'll have the slides. You can continue to look at the
yes,
pictures.
yeah. We can just
Yeah,
fly through them real quick. Just different
yeah.
ways that we, yeah, that we show up with the plants. Boom.
Bum
Hooray.
bum.
Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing now. Hooray. Thanks, everyone.
Awesome. Thank you all. That was amazing.
Mhm.
Um, we've been tracking the questions that have been coming through the chat. So I think we'll just go ahead and start asking y'all if that sounds okay.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And I wonder too, like, happy to receive these questions later. And if there's a way to create communication and get some of these questions answered that we may not get a chance to right now. So just want to put that out there.
Yeah.
Awesome. That sounds great. Let's see how far we get. One of the first question that came through is, do you have any resources for making or using soil blocks? They have some soil block equipment for free and just haven't gotten around to using them. So any advice y'all have?
Um, a friend taught me, and I teach friends. So, yeah, happy to just have a phone call or a FaceTime or whatever if that
Yeah.
if that feels comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, like YouTube University is really handy,
Hmm.
but yeah, totally reach out.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, it's fun. It's also really fun to like get other people involved because it's labor intensive. So if you can get some
Hmm.
help with it,
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah.
We've got another question then. What are some of the best places to find grants for herb projects?
Um, Unfortunately, I feel like a lot of like the herb specific grants that I've seen have come through huge grant or herb, I would say conglomerate like Mountain Rose or other large corporations that I don't align with. And so I think I have found more success with actually some grants that are offered from the Oregon Food Bank, like grants that are more for like farming and land tending and maybe like community work are usually the ones I have an easier time not only feeling like I want to apply for, but also, yeah, just getting to tell more of my stories about what I do beyond just like the herbs and the herbalism. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, my experience is very similar to Flynn's as well, in that working with the food bank, um, the and like equipment grants, like farm equipment grants.
Mhm.
If you are somebody who has like a veteran status, you can look into the Veteran Farm. What is it? The Veteran Farm Coalition. They do a fellowship of like up to 15,000 towards like equipment.
Mm.
Um, I got a BCS through that grant. And since I'm on farm sabbatical, I actually gave that or sold that equipment for really cheap to someone who's now using it. So, um, and then also, I think, we talked earlier about like getting creative about ways that herbs can be outside of the farm realm, right? There's so many
Mm,
places. So thinking about like art grants, community care grants,
mhm,
placemaking grants.
mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah, I do also the National Young Farmer Coalition, they offer some grants, and I know they have different regional and state chapters that could probably point you to a lot of different resources about that. But yeah, National Young Farmer Coalition. Hmm.
Okay, I think I'm up next. Um, okay, so this one is my question is, as an herbalist, do we have to be certified or regulated by the FDA? So I'm thinking this is about like with food safety.
Good
Have
question. I love this
y'all
question.
experienced that?
Yeah. So, herbalism is not a regulated practice. There are like, if you wanted to be certified as like a clinical herbalist, you can go through the herbal guild. What is that? National Herb Guild.
Yeah,
I don't participate in
American
that.
Herbalist
Yeah,
Guild,
yes,
AHG,
that's the one.
AHG.
AHG. I don't participate at when I'm actually working on my herbal clinical blah blah blah. Because it can help. It can help like with credibility in spaces. Um, but when it comes to your products, if you and I encourage folks to the American Herb Guild actually has some classes online around like the regulatory process around your products and labeling. You cannot make claims about what this herb does or like what this plant does or formulary does. So, and it's nice to also include that you can find it the FDA, not FDA claim, whatever. What is that thing? I don't know. I'm really bad at the regulatory part, but I know the things I can't do. You want to make sure your label has the name of the product, all of your ingredients, where it was made. That includes address. So if it was at your commissary kitchen or if it was at your home, address information does have to be included and like website or email address. So yeah, this product has not been evaluated by the FDA. That actually is a like that statement is important to have on there, especially if you're going into like boutique settings. But if you're like at the farmer's market from farmer direct to um, consumer, it's you might want to you're going to want to check your state laws around value added products, but there are some protections for farmers with value added products that go directly to consumer.
Mhm.
So
Yes.
that's my answer.
Hmm.
Sarah, did you have something to add?
Oh, I'm just shouting
Oh,
out the chat. So there are a lot of great things coming through the chat as well around other sources. But I will throw out another question for you both. Folks are wondering how and where they can purchase your products and medicines to support the land work that you're doing.
cute.
Yeah.
Okay. You
Um,
first.
yeah, I tried to manage a web store on a website and I just never quite figured it out and I haven't gone back to it yet. So I feel free to hit me up on Instagram or through through email or whatever. But yeah, I really just distribute through markets and CSAs and stuff like that. But happy to have that distribute go out, but I don't have a platform for that currently.
Yeah. I also currently don't have a platform. I do have a website, and information will be coming up soon on ways to support the work that Flying Dog Heart does. Um, but also, if you send me a message and you're like, hey, I would really like some CTFO, shoot me a message. Also, that's going to be included in the raffle kit. So fill out your evaluation so you can be entered.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Wondering if you have any preferred places for soil testing.
There's just like an agriculture supply store in Portland called Concentrates, and that's where we get our soil testing done as a collective on the farm.
Yep. Same,
hmm
same.
hmm
Yeah. So yeah, I would encourage you to check out either your local farm supply places to point you in the right direction, but also your
hmm
local extension can probably help you with that.
hmm Yes. Yeah.
We've got a hand up. John, Jean, if you would like to ask your question, go for it. We've got a couple minutes left.
Oh, hi. You said John or Jean?
Jean,
Go for it.
you.
Ask your question.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, hi. Good evening, everybody. How's everybody doing today? I hope all is well.
Hello.
Yes, I'm well. Thank you for asking. My name is Jean Rama, calling from Brooklyn, New York. My question is, now, would there be a difference if we wanted to also be an herbalist for animals?
Hmm.
Like, would there be a
Yes.
reg?
Great question, Jean. It's really so in the United States, um, it is illegal to practice medicine on animals unless you're a veterinarian. And veterinarians can only practice medicine on animals. So here's the workaround. If you are wanting to do herbal support for people and their companions, um, making making clear to them that you are not a medical practitioner, but also seeing if their veterinarian is open to collaborating with their herbalist. Um, and then you can have a line of communication with the veterinarian. Um, there is a really great book. The author is Wynne. I'm going to grab it off my bookshelf in just a minute. Is a really great book on like materia medica for plants that are safe for dogs and cats specifically, but it is a veterinarian um, herb book. Um, so it is you cannot call yourself a medical practitioner, um, but if you're in partnership and you're working directly with the person and their vet, and you're not making diagnosis, you're also just offering like herbal support supplements.
hmm
It's really about your language. That won't get you in trouble.
hmm
And I'm not a lawyer, so check your regulations. But I'm going to grab that book real quick. Someone
hmm
was asking, this is Carrots Rogers. He needed snuggles just now, so he says hi. BRB.
So so because I was interested in like making little doggy treats for my dogs
Hmm.
using things that were like calming. Because I think I know what book you're speaking of. Because I found a book that was homeopathic something. It was like pet related.
Mm-hmm.
So like making like shampoos with like lavender, things that would
Yeah.
like be
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
like calming.
If you're just working with your own animals, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, no, no,
Um,
no, no worries.
if you're working with your own baby babies, yeah, absolutely.
hmm
I really like this book especially. Super great, comprehensive on like what plants are safe for animals to have access to,
hmm
and it's in the chat, but also so that you can see
hmm
it. You can get a PDF version of this one too, because it's pretty
All right,
expensive in a
perfect.
hardcover. But yeah, and
All right, thank you
also
so much.
absolutely, and for folks who are interested in like companion animal herb stuff, please feel free to shoot me an email at dogheart.org. Um, Always welcome. Oh my goodness, you too? Okay.
Thank you both so much. We've got, yeah, some questions that I think we'll see if we can include additional information in the follow-up that we send to folks, but
Okay, sounds good.
turning it over to Anita now.
Yay.
Okay. I think my computer's a little slow, but I think the slides are up now or about to be.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so we're right at time, but before we end for today, I just wanted to announce a quick announcement with Not Our Farm. We're really excited because today we launched our Farm Worker Emergency Fund. So this is open to anyone who is currently working on a farm and is experiencing an emergency. And the applications are open until the end of the night on March 22nd, and then we'll randomly select folks. And Sarah just put the application or fund request form in the chat. So I encourage you all to share this with farm workers you know and yourself and take advantage of it. And we hope to do this seasonally as well. And are you going to share the raffle now, Sarah?
Sure, yep, I can do that. Yay, raffle time. So we've selected 2 folks who've been with us tonight, and those folks I'm just putting in the chat, Aislinn and Dannon. So I'll follow up with you both via email, and then just a plug to share your thoughts and ideas and experiences in the session evaluation as well, and we'll pick randomly select somebody who has filled out the evaluation by tomorrow morning. So look for that email to come on through. All right.
Awesome. And finally, thank you so much to Flynne and Letty for this incredible Skillshare and sharing so generously with us all. Everything was so beautiful and we have so much to think about. And I'm just savoring all of the photos y'all shared as well. And for folks here, we're going to be sending out this recording and the slide deck to everyone who registered. And we'll address the outstanding questions too that we had collected. And thank you to Bruje and Jeanette for our language justice team for all the Spanish interpretation that was happening and the translation in the chat. And of course to Sarah, my co-organizer, for all the help behind the scenes to bring this together. And thank you to everyone who's here today and who keeps coming back. We're so grateful to be able to gather with you all at Free School, and we really deeply appreciate your participation. So Sarah put that session eval in the chat. We really encourage you to take a moment to fill it out. We promise we read all of them, and we're trying to, build Free School to be the best series that it can be and meet everyone's needs. And then lastly, on this screen here, you can see we have some upcoming sessions. So we have an encore with Safe Movement on Farms with Labor Movement with Cynthia. Registration is going to open this week. And then we have our first ever Free School in-person retreat that's going to be in Maryland, an all-day retreat in June. So more info on that coming soon. But yeah, with that, thank you all so much. Thank you so much, Flynne and Letty, again. So inspired and grateful for your work. And yeah, thank you all so much and have a good night.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.